Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Carly here. I am drinking something new. I'm drinking a Stewart's Root Beer Spike Seltzer tonight.
I'm Alex. I have wine as usual. This one's white, and my normal canned margarita thing.
I'm Kelsey. I'm trying to be a healthier alcoholic, so I got these non-sugar flavored bubbly waters that I just put vodka in. And I cut up a peach and I put a bunch of peach cubes in it. So it's like I can pretend it's a fun little cocktail.
Healthy.
Okay.
So sugar healthy, sugar-free water, but also vodka.
Okay. So this is our second Friday the 13th special. So after hearing about Carly's Friday the
Third.
Technically third.
Oh, it's our third?
Aluminum.
Alex did one. Okay. Alex did do one. This is our third Friday the 13th special.
You're valid, Alex.
I forgot that was for Friday the 13th. So after learning about aluminum and after all of Carly's fun Friday the 13th stories, I'm gonna tell you why it's all bullshit.
Thanks.
This is a Kelsey ruins everything episode. Change slide. There we go. Have you guys heard confirmation bias before in the term?
Yep.
Yeah.
So this is a pretty common psych term that's basically that you're gonna like pick out all of the information that you agree with and you're gonna ignore everything else. So like anytime there's conflicting evidence where like some things prove it and some things would disprove it, you're gonna ignore everything that doesn't really confirm what your existing ideas about something were. Is this a specific person you're drawing or just a person?
It can be Bob though.
Oh, so it is Bob.
Oh yeah, it's Bob.
And so this is usually something that exists for like beliefs that are really heavily based in your emotions or something that's really deeply ingrained in you, like the like political or religious views you grew up with. Is he falling? Did Bob push him?
Who's that?
It's the guy Bob's murdering on the cherry picker.
What should we name the guy who's gonna die?
Scar. Oh wait, no. What's his brother's name?
It was Mufasa.
Mufasa. There you go.
Are you guys done drawing?
Wait, I was gonna write.
For now.
Mufasa 2. Mufasa the 2nd. Okay, so why we have confirmation bias is it's basically just easier. Like, it takes a lot of energy to try to figure out what's actually true. So as long as there's some evidence that's true, it's kind of like a mental shortcut that like helps you make faster decisions. The basic idea behind it is that for most of our evolution, like we didn't have to think about things like conspiracy theories, like did this disease we're catching come from Chinese labs or did it not? Those weren't really problems.
I thought a man ate a bat and then it like spread that way.
Well, we're not 100% sure about that either, but yeah, so for most of our evolution, we didn't really have to think that hard about things and examine that much evidence to figure out what was going on, so it made like a lot more sense to just take the mental shortcuts. So now, what does any of this have to do with Friday the 13th? So we said confirmation bias is like based on things that are emotionally based, and fear is a pretty strong emotion. And it makes a lot of sense to have confirmation bias with things that are scary because, like, if you had any reason to believe that something was associated with being unlucky, like, it's probably better for you to err on the side of caution, speaking evolutionary-wise. The other thing is just that once you, like, thinking about Friday the 13th being unlucky, it's on your mind constantly, so, like, any information that confirms that, you're going to pick up on immediately. And then that's just like an example of confirmation bias for Friday the 13th. Like you've probably had plenty of good things happen to you, but if just like one unlucky thing happens to you that day, you're gonna like hone in on that. What do you mean I have my life to prove otherwise? What is that referring?
I was born on Friday the 13th, but something bad always happens when my birthday does not fall on Friday. On a Friday.
What happens? Yeah, so it happens when she gets bad luck when it's not the Friday.
Yeah, if it's like Friday the 13th, it's like pretty good. And then if it's not, it's like F you. That's how Friday the
I
13th
should have.
fucked me over.
I should have had your birth. I have a list later of lucky things that have happened on Friday the 13th. I should.
Carly's rules add Carly's birthday.
Yeah. And then the other thing, kind of, proving that Friday the 13th is just confirmation bias, is that other cultures have their own Friday the 13th, so on different days, that they're just as like passionately insistent about being unlucky days. I forgot to double check that I had the right day on this, but I'm pretty sure Italy's was Friday the 17th.
How can you not check your sources,
It
Kelsey?
says Tuesday the 17th.
Oh, Tuesday. Yeah, I think it is.
Well, on the website, it says, well, on your slide, it says Tuesday.
Because I had read a bunch of them and then I just picked two out like at a later time and put them on there and forgot to double check that I didn't like mix up the numbers or anything. I think it's Friday the 17th. Yeah, it's supposed to be Friday the 17th. There was another culture that was a Tuesday. We'll just make a note of that editing. Yeah, Friday.
It sounds so odd though, just seeing that. Friday the 17th and April 4th.
Yeah, so it was, I think this is actually where Friday the 13th came from. I think it was originally Friday the 17th because it comes from Christian mythology. It was the.
Oh, it comes from the Knights of Templar.
Oh,
The
that's
Friday
not.
the 13th.
There might be different ones, but the Friday the 17th, what I was reading, is that one came from it was supposed to be the day that Jesus died.
Oh.
So then that became an unlucky day, and then eventually something else made people associate bad luck with the number 13, and then it got changed to Friday the 13th after there was
Which is
bad
weird.
luck with
Which
13.
is weird because don't we have like Good Friday or something, and then it leads into the weekend, and then we have Easter is when he resurrects back from the dead.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yeah, that's
so it's
why
not
it's
actually
Good Friday, because he died on Friday the 17th.
okay, but it's not actually celebrated on the 17th. But I mean, it obviously changes every year, but it's always celebrated. It's weird how it's celebrated on a Friday.
It's always a Friday instead of always being the 17th, because it's probably on a different calendar. Or they just thought the days of the week were more important for some reason.
Huh.
I'm a bad Catholic, so I don't remember, but
No, I think it because they pick it at a certain. I don't know. I think they
because
Catholic
it's based on Lent too. Like it has to be a specific number of days after Lent ends. And then April the 4th is bad luck in China because the number 4 is the word for the number 4 is se, which is pronounced the same as the word for death. That's also se. So the number 4 has terrible luck in China because it sounds the same as death. So that's like their 13.
Wait, I have a serious question. Who decides when Lent starts and when it ends? Like the people who make calendars, or
well, Lent isn't Lent based on this period of time that Jesus spent in the desert before he
yeah,
died?
but like when do they choose like the specific date? Does it start on a specific date, or is it just chosen randomly every year?
No, it's not random. It's different every year because I think it's on a different calendar. Yeah, it follows the liturgical calendar, Lent and Easter.
Because I was just imagining just like a random dude who's like making like those paper calendars and it's like, you know what, we're just gonna make Lent this time of year.
That's not how it works. Have you noticed how Easter is always the same time of year, roughly?
Oh, it's always the first Sunday, right?
It's something like that. I didn't pay enough attention in CCD.
It's the first Sunday after Lent ends, 40 days.
Oh wait, doesn't Lent start with Ash Wednesday?
Yeah, I just remember that when I was reading that. There's like Giving Tuesday and then Ash Wednesday and then Lent and then.
How do they know when Ash Wednesday is though?
I think it's like the first Wednesday in March or the third Wednesday in February.
It's Fat Tuesday and then Ash Wednesday.
Fat Tuesday.
You never heard of Fat Tuesday?
No, is it when you just get fat with the girls or something?
No, it's when I think it's because you like let yourself eat a lot before you start your fasting for Lent, because Lent was originally supposed to be about fasting, and then it just got changed to
just give up one thing.
Just not giving up meat or not eating meat on Fridays. It became that when it was supposed to be like actual fasting.
I think you're also supposed to give up like one thing or something.
Yeah, you give something up.
I never did.
Oh, and you're supposed to not eat any fats between Ash Wednesday and Easter Sunday. So that's why it's Fat Tuesday, because you let yourself eat all the fat food before you have to give it up for.
But there's
What?
fat and everything.
You're supposed to, it says if you're being strictly Catholic or Christian, you're supposed to give up meat, fish, eggs, and fats until Easter. For the people who like actually really strictly follow the Bible, and then people who don't really strictly follow it will just give up like one luxury item that they choose.
I love how people say they like strictly follow the Bible, but they only follow like 3 lines that are extremely outdated or are completely wrong when they translated them.
Most Christians really don't follow half of the Bible at all. So my next slide is kind of like Carly's slide about Friday the 13th, but I'm just gonna do it for things that happened on April 4th to give Chinese people some credit.
My lights are stuck in my hair.
Oh no.
In other countries too. I think
Got it.
Japan.
What,
Uh,
4?
Yeah, well, at least the number 4.
Yeah, I think
April
it's
4th
like it's pretty common across Asian cultures.
Totally don't know that in part from a Nancy Drew game, but
I know it from taking Mandarin. There's plenty of justification that they could like cherry pick events out too for April 4th to prove it. Some guy almost got assassinated, who I'm assuming was an important leader somewhere. Don't ask me to
Isn't
explain
that
anything.
Alexander the Great? Or no?
Oh, he wasn't as late as the 1800s though.
Oh wait, no, never mind. I didn't see the actual date.
Yeah, this was 1886, and then in 1905, April 4th was when India had a big earthquake that killed a lot of people. 20,000 is a decent number.
Was this when they were hogging Sophia?
Is that in India?
No, but oh wait, did you say India? Oh, I didn't realize.
It's on
Sorry.
the slide, Carly.
Yeah, I'm not really reading.
But it's like there if you want to read it. This famous Greek aviator crashed his plane in 1913. He was kind of like the Greek Amelia Earhart. So that happened on an April 4th, and then the Arab riots happened on April 4th. That was the like Palestinian rebellion against Israel. That was kind of the start of the modern tensions between them. Yes, Carly, there in Israel or in India. Damn it. Some other things that happened. One of the, you know, there's like a million shipwrecks off of New Jersey. So one of them from 1933 was on April 4th. One of the big World War II battles where Germany captured Libya was on April 4th. Martin Luther King was assassinated on an April 4th. I thought that was interesting because that was kind of a big one. And then, was the Titanic off of New Jersey? Isn't the Titanic in the middle of the ocean?
I think they didn't go off. I think they depart from like New York. I can look it up.
I don't remember.
well, she would still be correct then. Not Titanic.
Yeah, I guess you're not technically wrong. It's definitely
It was close.
Titanic. And then the Syrian government, when they're committing chemical warfare against their own citizens.
No, I don't want the movie.
That was on April 4th.
Boat.
Are you drawing the boat?
Yeah.
That's a great boat, Alex.
Crashed off the coast of Newfoundland.
That's pretty far from New Jersey.
Yeah.
Wow. That's still on the East Coast, isn't it?
Yeah, but where did it leave though?
I don't know.
Oh wait, it was
thought it
British.
was some East Coast city.
Oh, it was headed to New York City.
Oh.
So it could have been in New Jersey where it finally sunk.
But it wasn't. So there's also plenty of lucky things that happen on Friday the 13th. The first ever dinosaur egg discovery, the foundation of the British Interplanetary Society, which was like the first organization that promoted space exploration. The first female flight instructor was licensed on a Friday the 13th.
Oh.
Steve Buscemi was born on Friday the 13th.
The one we want to eat?
You mean don't want to eat? Wasn't that the conclusion?
Yeah, like
that would not be very likely. Yes, Mary-Kate and Ashley also were. There were several celebrities. I don't know why I felt like Steve Buscemi was the most important. Gender discrimination was outlawed in the United States, apparently as late as 1967. But that was on a Friday the 13th. And
I mean, that makes sense because a lot of that was Ginsburg.
what?
Because a lot of the gender discrimination was like Ginsburg.
That I don't know. I was just thinking like women had the right to vote and everything as early as the 20s. So
Well, like I said, a lot of the discrimination stuff was like her cases and like in like that area, and a lot of that was like in the like 60s.
yeah, I guess that makes sense. And some tiny country named Malta that I had never heard of before achieved their independence and on Friday the 13th. So good for them.
The discrimination thing though, voting rights though, for women at least, weren't actually all like when women were given the right to vote back in what was it, the
Sure.
30s,
That was
40s?
what, white women? Was it only
I-
white women in the 20s?
I think it was white women, then African Americans were maybe 10 or 20 years later, and then I think Asian women were even longer than that. I think they were the last, or it might be another minority group, I can't remember. But I know they had a lot of issues with the Asian community, especially after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. I mean, look at the amount of
Oh
concentration
yeah, the
camps.
concentration camps and shit.
Yeah. And then even after that, there were still so many like sexist laws for years that were like unrelated to voting and everything else.
You could rape your wife until the 70s. These are just other examples of confirmation bias. So like the fact that homeopathy has been pretty consistently disproven for decades, if not centuries, and people still buy it. Are you being homophobic, Alex?
Made it gay.
She's trying to fit in.
Astrology is probably the biggest one. Descriptions of every sign are intentionally incredibly broad, and there's like enough of them that you'll probably fit some of the like traits listed in any one sign, and you're like very likely to read it and go like, oh, this is so accurate because like some of these fit me. But if you actually made yourself add it up, like they probably don't actually all fit you. But people would like swear by it anyway because they'll only pay attention to the things that like are accurate.
Who's that guy? A lot of people. I gotta look on a former presentation of mine. He was well known for predicting the future, even though a lot of what he said was actually bullshit. It was pretty much just generalized thoughts of what could possibly happen in the future, and it could relate to I don't know how many different events. And a lot of people just assumed, oh, it predicted this massacre or this other thing. I can't remember his name off the top of my head.
Yeah,
But
that's another. I didn't put that on here, but like things like that, like people think they can predict the future, like psychics and mediums, they make all of their money off of your confirmation bias. That there's probably plenty of things that they say that are not true at all or don't come true, and you're gonna either ignore the things that don't come true, or you'll go looking for like Carly said, like you would go looking for events that could maybe fit the incredibly vague thing that he said.
I've seen that a lot with there's like because I watched some like randomly like out of boredom when I was younger, but there was a few that I'm like this is weirdly accurate, but again it's probably like the exact same thing, like I wasn't believing it that much. There was people on YouTube and stuff that did things like tarot card readings, but like for like Sagittarius or whatever. But again, there's like they're like vague enough that like they could go with like so many things.
Yeah, it makes like your brain go searching for something that's gonna fit it.
my one professor proved this by writing down the exact same thing and giving it to 4 random people or like 5 random people in the class and just like having them read it over and ask, and like he brought them up in front of everybody, and there's like 100 kids in that one class, and he said like, what, like, do these all relate to you? And they're just like, yeah, it's like it's unreal, like I like I'm living this. And then he said, you guys are actually reading all the same thing. And they're like, what? And they had each other trade it, and it was the exact same thing.
I'm mad that I didn't think about this until after my roommate moved out, but he was a big astrology person. And anytime I talked about somebody, he would ask their birthday immediately. And it only occurred to me after he moved out that it would have been really funny for me to start giving him like fake birthdays, like completely making them up, like giving one that's intentionally the complete opposite time of the year and watching him be like, oh yeah, I knew it. That's so Sagittarius, when like I know that they're Pisces. It's The other one I have on here is the anti-vax movement, which is pretty big topic right now. People will really, really passionately insist that you shouldn't get vaccines, even though the only thing that ever happened was that one autism study that was later retracted for being completely invalid.
The guy
Or
was
like a lot of
like bribed to get to give certain results. Like it was completely fake.
yeah, it was all, it wasn't even like just bad science, it was like 100% intentionally faked. And they'll point to a lot of other stuff from like fringe scientists that like nobody in the field has any respect for, and just pick out those like couple of studies. I don't know if anyone recognizes this, but this is from like the old race science experiments.
Oh yeah.
Heard about those? There,
Yep, I
there are a
heard
lot of
them.
different race science things, like looking at like their skull shapes and like comparing Black people's skull shapes to like non-human primates like monkeys and stuff, and saying that they're more similar looking to that than to like white people's skulls, and just other ridiculous things like that that were like just stuff that didn't actually mean anything, but because of their biases, like they went in wanting to prove something, they kind of like interpret it meaning where there was
It's
nothing.
it's just the Western ideology of just like the perfect face or just like the perfect makeup, and obviously heavily white. And I think a lot of people have assumed that because ancient Greek sculptures, a lot of them were actually painted like in a lot of very bright blues and all like different colors. And a lot of people have assumed that when they look back at ancient Greek art, it's always white now because there's no paint left, or there's very little, it's very faint. So everyone looks to the Greeks as like they have perfect everything, perfect math, perfect ideology for what a human should look like. And many just people assume probably got inspiration from that to just make shit like this, where it's like, oh well, that's the perfect human being.
Weren't there also statues that were like clearly supposed to be African people that they would cut the noses off of, and like things
I
like that to make it seem like they were about white people? Have you heard about that?
I don't know too much about that though. I know more of like the archaic and the like the ancient art.
I don't remember enough of the details to remember where they were from. I just remember reading
I know
about
it
them
was
for Egyptian
multi-race.
statues or something that like later had like parts like modified, like the noses cut down or something, so that they didn't look like they were Africans anymore.
I know it was multi-race, especially in the Roman Empire, because that their land stretched everywhere and there was a huge slave trade back in the day. So it was, I mean, obviously bigger than what there is now, but
Something we could Google and add in later. You'll see.
And then my last one was
I
the
heard
most recent conspiracies. People
what?
being pretty hell-bent on not believing that COVID exists or that it's not actually killing people. And I'm sure you've had plenty of discussions with these people that like there's not really anything you can say that's
Or
gonna
that
change
the
it.
masks are bad because you're breathing in your own carbon dioxide, but that's
Which
not.
makes nothing about that makes sense. Masks are simultaneously too large to keep a virus out, but also small enough to keep carbon dioxide in,
Yeah.
which is really funny if you know the size scale of viruses to an atom of carbon dioxide or a molecule of carbon dioxide.
I'm like, also you can literally feel your breath going through it half the time. Like there's there's edges and stuff. Like
Also, you would be unconscious. Do
yes.
people know how carbon dioxide works? Like everyone, it's not like a slow poisoning. It's like you'll pass out after a couple minutes.
Yeah, sometimes you feel a little harder to breathe, but that's just because you're not used to it or like it's hot. But like
Yeah.
it's on for a few minutes, like you don't even notice it.
It took me a while to get used to it, and I was doing like heavy labor in grocery. I was like pulling overheads and stuff. I was pulling like things that were like 20, 30, maybe 50 pounds occasionally. And that like yeah, that was hard to breathe sometimes, especially in like 90-degree weather.
Exercise, like when you're trying to take in more oxygen, that's gonna be make more difficult to do with something
Yeah.
obstructing.
But even that is just annoying. Like, it's annoying and you can complain about it, but you're not dying. Nurses have been spending how many decades like sprinting through hospitals and ERs in those masks?
Did I ever tell you guys about the woman who almost had a panic attack in front of me because of COVID?
Oh no.
Like I
Like
was
actually 'cause she was afraid of COVID or because she was like pretending
well,
to be
she
afraid of
was
the mask?
well, she was in my workplace and I was just talking to a woman. We were just talking about COVID because like maybe a day or two before Trump initiated like the lockdown or whatever, or like the state of emergency. And then this other woman just interrupts our conversation. She's like, I don't know what to do. And I'm just like, you don't have a mask on and you're in like a grocery store.
She was freaking
I
out.
didn't know what to do, so I just walked away. Oh, it's like I'm not dealing with this right now.
Yeah, at the very least, if you're like panicking and don't know what to do, you know, you would think they would take normal precautions like putting a mask on.
Yeah, why are you in a grocery store then and not wearing a mask while you're in the grocery store?
All I remember is I think Fauci originally said after like Trump said the state of emergency, he said like the way he did it wasn't right or something, or along the lines of like if he did it properly, then people would act accordingly and be like respectful of others. And I'm just like, I doubt that because people were literally fighting each other for toilet paper
I missed
in my
all of
store.
that. This was all when I was in another country.
Oh yeah,
It
you're
was crazy out, Kelsey.
I left when it was still normal and then I came back after that whole shutdown.
Thank you so much, guys, for tuning in or making it this far. I'm surprised anyone would. This has been Kelsey. What was this again?
What?
What was
What was
this?
this?
Confirmation bias? Friday the 13th?
Oh, right. Yeah, it was that. Thanks so much for joining
You just
in.
listened to it 5 minutes ago?
Yeah, whatever. Thanks so much for tuning in. Kelsey, do you have anything else to say?
Subscribe or I'll kill you. And then feed you to my rats.
Bye.
Business.